Hey y'all, good morning. I know it's been a while since I've made a video. I've been traveling and having lots of summer fun with my kids, so I just had to jump on here today though. As I was reading my Bible this morning, I saw something that I've never seen before, and I've read this so many times, and I wanted to share because I think it's going to bless you. So I am currently reading in Joshua, and this morning I was reading Joshua 14. And it's essentially the distribution of the promised land after Joshua makes the conquest, and he's giving the allotted portions to the 12 tribes. Anyway, the point that I want to get at is this, where Caleb comes in and requests his inheritance. So, you know, they're all being allotted the land, and Caleb comes and kind of gives the whole exhortation. I was 40 years old when he went as a spy into the land. Moses sent him as a spy. He came back with a good report with Joshua, and Moses promised him, because of your faith, I'll give you an inheritance in the land. Or the Lord will give you an inheritance in the land. And so he comes back and he said, 45 years later, here I am. The Lord made me to be strong. He says, I love this. He says that he's still as strong. I'm still as strong today as I was in the day that Moses sent me. My strength now is as my strength was then for war and going and coming. So he's saying, like, you know, the Lord enabled him to fulfill that whole assignment. And so here we are. He's 85 and he's just as strong as he was when he's 40, which is amazing. And he's saying, basically, he's kind of cashing in on that promise. Remember that promise that was given to me? I want my inheritance. And we see this also with the daughters of Zelophehad. I don't know how to pronounce that, but anyway, just this coming by faith and asking for what had been promised. And so, you know, I know that this is probably not. Anyway, Joshua blessed him, and he gave Hebron to Caleb. Caleb asked specifically for Hebron. He asked if he could he said, so give me this hill country of which the Lord spoke on that day. And so he asks specifically for Hebron. And so a couple things that really stood out to me over and over, it's Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite. What's interesting to me is that Caleb is not a descendant of Abraham, and he's not one of the sons of Israel, yet he was given an inheritance in the promised land. And I think that I always thought that was really neat, and, you know, but today it really struck me as being just this. I'm sure there's probably a lot more, but this is the first time that I have noticed so far where that spirit of adoption is really written into the story of our faith. And, you know, we see it with Jesus, obviously. His lineage is through Joseph, and he's not a naturally born descendant of Joseph. He's you know, was the seed of God, and he was carried by Mary, so technically he's not genetically of the line of David, but he is completely of the line of David by the spirit of adoption, which obviously is this picture of us being, you know, we are children of God by the spirit of adoption, which is so beautiful and amazing, and we receive that by faith. And then we see, like, God writing this into the story all the way up the line of the story of our faith, you know, through Jesus is literally this. He is of the line of David by the spirit of adoption. Here comes my mama. And then we see it here. I've never noticed it here with Caleb, where he actually was, he was actually a Kenizzite, which, as I was reading more, discovered that the Kenizzites were actually the people who inhabited Canaan when Abraham received the promise to inherit the promised land. Those were the people that inhabited Canaan. And also Hebron is the place where Abraham lived, where he received the promise, and where he's buried, where Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Leah, Rachel's not buried there, but the patriarchs with their wives were all buried at Hebron at, I don't know how to pronounce it, Machpelah? I can't pronounce it. But basically that burial site that Abraham purchased when he was a sojourner. He purchased the place to bury Sarah. Sorry, I'm really scattered, but this is just so profound to me right now. Caleb, who was not a descendant of Abraham, you know, his family assimilated into Israel at some point along the way, but he's not of those 12 tribes of Israel. Caleb comes, and he had to come and by faith ask, I want Hebron. He specifically asked for that. That's in the land. It's in the that's kind of in the area that Judah was given as an inheritance. But Hebron being this picture, it literally, Caleb was adopted into Israel and by faith received an inheritance, and the inheritance that he received literally was the father's. He received the burial site where it's this prophetic picture of, by faith through the spirit of adoption, Caleb received the father. And this is the picture of what we have. By faith through Jesus, we receive this inheritance of the father. Caleb literally possessed the land where Abraham was buried, and Isaac and Jacob, like this physical representation of the inheritance of the Father is given to the one who was adopted into Israel. This is so beautiful and so profound, and I've never seen it before this way. You know, I've kind of always, I guess, just perceived that picture of the spirit of adoption started at Jesus being adopted into the family line, essentially, of Joseph, which is the lineage of David, and being professed as he is the seed of David. So that just shows like the efficacy that the Father sees of the spirit of adoption. And that's how much we are his children. We are as much God's children as Jesus was of the line of David. And we are as much, we inherit the Father in the way that Caleb inherited literally the burial place, the place where they rested the patriarchs. And so I just love that. There's also some other significance to Hebron. One being, I just wrote it here, it was David's first capital city, and he ruled there in Judah for 7.5 years before moving to Jerusalem. And it's where he was anointed king. So there's just so much significance there at Hebron. And I just love, that just stood out to me so much today. Oh, God, he's just so poetic. The way he weaves this into like the subtleties of the storyline of our faith. It's all just this grander theme of you're so mine and he's so ours. And it's wild and wonderful. And it just blessed me so much today. So I wanted to share that. I hope you're having a good 4th of July. And yeah, be blessed.